Boom.
Week 4 starts with a prime time matchup, maybe one of the best prime time games of the season. Vikings at Rams. We're going to break down the $1 million slate for Boom Fantasy, and I'm joined as always on Thursdays by Nick, Big Play, Coach J, Daily Fantasy Insider. What's good, boss?
Hey, football's good right now. That's what's going on, man. I'm these Thursday games are light years better than last year. Well, you even commented last week. You were like, "Oh, they got to fit the Jets and the Browns into a primetime game," so they put them together.
They
That game was
sold the
great.
primetime package. They had to sell it, and they
Yeah,
sold it. Tonight we're looking at two potential playoff teams. One that has looked amazing through 3 weeks, and one that really struggled last week in one of the biggest surprises in gambling history. So where do you see the Vikings and Rams stacking up tonight?
I don't think the Vikings are gonna like the outcome of this game.
No.
The Rams are unstoppable right now.
Yeah.
They are just shredding teams, and they appear to be unstoppable on both sides of the ball. They will be a little more susceptible on defense without Aqib Talib and potentially without Marcus Peters. Even if he goes, he's still going to be hobbled a little bit. So it'll be a little bit worse. But I think they'll slow down the Vikings enough.
The Rams have punted 5 times through 3 games, and I think that's the only stat you need to describe their offense.
That is bonkers.
Yeah, that's real. So let's get right to it. Question 1, you know the drill. Most passing yards. It's the quarterbacks, Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins. Game script could factor into this one, Nick, but who do you like to take this one?
Yeah, game script will be interesting here because I do think the Rams are going to be winning this game pretty handily. But hey, I also thought the Vikings would win pretty handily last
Hey,
week. So
there it is.
you never know.
You never know.
Skill-wise and efficiency-wise, I'd probably go Goff here. I think I still will go Goff, but I would not be surprised if Cousins has 12, 15 more attempts than Goff by the time this game's all said and done.
I'm going to go Goff as well. However, if I find out later in the day that Marcus Peters is going to be out, I reserve the right to change my pick to Cousins because I'm the host and that's what I say. I think game scripts could factor in a lot. The Rams could get up on the Vikings real quick, much like the Bills did. I still can't believe that happened. And then Cruz and then Kirk Cousins will have to chuck it against a depleted secondary. So I'm going to take Goff. It's McVay. It's not Goff. It's McVay. Question 2, most rushing yards. It's Todd Gurley, Dalvin Cook, Malcolm Brown, and Latavius Murray, who put up a stinker last week. Nick, do you like Gurley here?
Yeah, I do. This is past himself, off the backboard. Dunk. Move on. Todd Gurley has 50% of his carries right now against a 6-man box or fewer because the Rams have played 98% of their snaps in 11 personnel. That means 1 running back and 1 tight end. So they've got 3 wide receivers on the field 98% of the time. And they do so much motion and spread you out so much that you end up with too few guys in the box. And that's not a good plan against Todd Gurley. But those outside weapons are so good that you have to respect them. And if you load the box, Goff's going to hit you over top to Bob Woods or Cooper Kupp or Brandon Cooks. So it's a dangerous offense.
Most receiving yards is your third question, and the big names are there. It's Robert Woods, then Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, and Dalvin Cook sneaking in on the D-bet. Do you like Bobby Woods here? I know there's been even target distribution for the Rams, but who do you like for this question?
Yeah, I like Robert Woods. He's leading the Rams in air yards. So as the efficiency starts to gain some traction for Robert Woods, he's gonna see a major increase in production, which we kind of already saw last week when he had a big breakout game for 2 touchdowns.
I definitely think Kupp is the outlier because I see him more as an underneath guy. I think it would be Woods and Cooks would compete for yardage on the Rams, and I do like Woods. Stephon Diggs is the big play guy for the Vikings, and I could see him having a big game, so I'm going to go with him just because I think Cooks eats too much into Woods' yardage for this question. There's 3 receivers that get targets on the Rams, and there's 2 receivers that get targets on the Vikings, and that's the math that I bring to the table. Most receptions is question 4, and this one I think can get a little tricky. Cooper Kupp is the A, then Stephon Diggs, Kyle Rudolph, and Todd Gurley as a D-bet. Nick, do you like Cooper Kupp on the underneath stuff? Do you like Rudolph here? Talk to me.
I actually like Diggs the most on this one, basically for the same reason as you used on the last question. A smaller group. I do think Diggs is going to have more catches, even though he's not typically a high volume guy. I think game script will play into this a little bit.
He's not a high volume guy. I agree. And that's why I'm going to go Kupp. I just finished watching Bills Vikings, and Trey Waynes went down with an ankle injury and missed a good amount of time. And I think that the slot is where the Vikings corners can really get beat. And that's where Cooper Kupp dominates the middle of the field and in the slot. So I'm going to take him, and I think 6 catches can dominate this group, this particular group. So I like Cooper Kupp. I also read something about the Rams, how they don't throw into the end zone. They throw like short of the end zone and make you play the whole field, because the idea of red zone football is like the field is condensed. God, I just love the way they play offense, man. Halfway to $1 million, and question 5 is total touchdowns, and it is Robert Woods once again, this time joined by Kyle Rudolph, Adam Thielen, and Brandon Cooks making his first appearance in this contest. So what do you say here, Nick? Total touchdowns, the way the Rams spread it around, this one could get tricky.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a 1 that wins this.
Yeah.
I would not count out Kyle Rudolph. His nickname is Rudolph the Red Zone Reindeer.
Wow.
So don't be surprised if he nabs one despite being practically invisible the first 3 weeks. Am I getting a slow clap right now?
That is great.
I wouldn't rule him out, but I actually do like Robert Woods to take this one. He just looks so good right now.
He looks so good right now. And it's so tough because we talked about it earlier. You can't defend everyone. And Robert Woods has long been the best receiver on the Rams. And so he's a number 1 in disguise, because Todd Gurley's the number 1 everything. And the system plays out that there's equal distribution to whoever's open. And the way they're moving with jet action. I'm going to talk so much about jet action on Sunday. It's nauseating. I do think 1 touchdown is going to win this question, and that's why I'm going to take Woods, because I think he's got the highest chance to score 2 touchdowns.
Hey, do you remember the 2014 Bills who had Robert Woods?
Oh, my God.
Sammy Watkins and Chris Hogan and Marquise Goodwin.
Hey, Marquise
and they
Goodwin
were terrible.
Too.
Yeah, I remember that team too.
What did they go that year?
Oh, it was miserable.
Question 6, the classic passing touchdowns or made field goals. It's Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Sam Thicken, or Dan Bailey. Hey, these are the 2 new kickers. I like that. So do you like one of these new kickers?
Yeah. I feel like it's tradition. I have to pick a kicker. It's just my go-to. And on this particular question, I think it's kind of a toss-up anyways. I'd probably go Thicken, because I think the Vikings are going to be trailing, and teams that are trailing don't tend to settle for field goals. Not when you're going up against the most high-powered offense in the league. I think the Vikings know that they need touchdowns to win this one. So I'm going to go with Thicken on this one.
This to me feels like a situation where Thicken is winning the contest and has a chance to kick it like a third to put it away, and he misses it because he's a backup kicker. I'm going to take Goff because of what I talked about before. They're not throwing into the end zone. They're throwing short of the end zone, and they're creating space. Their play calling is just so good. And my favorite thing in the NFL this year, they're running so many jet sweeps and that little pass forward. The pass forward becomes a touchdown, Nick. Isn't that fair? We are on to the lightning questions. There are 2 between you and $1 million. And the first player is Brandon Cooks, exact receiving yards. And Nick, we were talking about this, is he's known as a more volatile producer in fantasy, but he's been spooky consistent through 3 weeks.
Yeah, I never pick Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
He's okay in best ball, but I never pick him in season long or really DFS for that matter. He's an okay tournament play, but I don't play that many tournaments. So he's risky, but this year he's been the exact opposite. He's seeing pretty consistent volume week in and week out, which is even crazier to believe since we have already talked about how many options they have in that offense.
Yeah, 8 targets, 9 targets, 8 targets. 2 games around 90 yards, 1 game elevated. The yardage is a little tough, but it's good to know that his target share is stable, because that lifts the basement, which was Cooks' real problem, was throwing up 2 catches for 13 yards on the Patriots. Like, that was my major issue with his fantasy viability. But I'm going to go with 98 here, like right on brand. 6 catches for 98 yards, right where he's supposed to be. I do think the Rams will cruise, but they've been cruising through 3 weeks, so there's no game script implications for this one. It's the same thing they've been doing all year. Is that a fine number for you?
Yeah, that's pretty close to what I have. I'm thinking about 5 for 86, so I'm not far off.
Surprise, surprise. I think he scores a rushing touchdown.
Oh, on a little jet sweep action.
Oh, jet action, baby. It's the wave.
Tap.
The last question of our $1 million slate also deals with an all-star receiver. It is Adam Thielen, receiving yards. And much like Cooks, this is a guy who's found a really nice basement through 3 games, Nick. So what do you like for Adam Thielen receiving yards on Thursday night?
You don't get much more consistent than Adam Thielen. He's always been just your guy who you know what you're getting week in and week out. He's a very safe play. I think because of game script and because of his volume, he's going to get over 100 this week. I'm going to say 105 for Thielen.
The way I always saw it was that Thielen was a PPR guy and Diggs was more of a standard big play guy. But Thielen is now just the guy. Like, he's getting a dozen targets a week. He is Cousins' numero uno guy. Third down when the pressure comes, maybe even in the red zone if the Vikings can get there more. We didn't see it at all last week. Again, what was up with that game? But I like Thielen for 113 here. I think he just keeps getting targets. If they're losing, he's going to keep getting targets. If they're winning, 3rd and 6, he's going to keep getting targets. That's it. 8 questions later, you're a millionaire. And you got to watch a good football game. Pretty nice night, huh, Nick?
Yeah, I'll take $1 million.
Don't forget, Thursday night pregame, we are live streaming in the app, answering your questions about this slate, or you can just watch this video on demand on our YouTube channel. Sunday, you got to do 2 things. You got to watch our stream 10 to 1, but you also want to keep that war room open at DFI, right, Nick?
Yeah, head over to DailyFantasyInsider.com. Myself and our great NFL analysts will be in the war room hooking you up with good information. Last week, we were all about Tyler Boyd. We were all about Calvin Ridley. We had some great plays. Saw a lot of subscribers win some money last weekend. So come join us.
Splash. Hey, Nick, have you heard about the Boombox?
The Boombox?
Yeah.
Is this the 80s? We
No,
booming?
it's a giveaway with Boom Fantasy.
Oh, the Boombox. I'm all about giveaways.
You don't know about it?
I don't. Hit me.
I guess you just have to watch our video on Sunday then, my guy.